North Carolina is in contact with a Tar Heel legacy that's in the transfer portal. But is this another mid-major that won't be able to cut it at the high major level?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, March 28th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making us your first listen or watch. And I want to send a special shout out to all the everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our great group of insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one right now? Grab it. Grab your 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Joining me today is our good buddy, Coach Bill Robinson, who's right smack dab in the middle of his own season recap and all of these conversations, just like the Tar Heels. That's going to be a fun part of our conversation today. We're going to talk about exit interviews and how you handle all the trickiness of that and relationships and dynamics and all sorts of weird stuff. So great insight we're looking forward to from Coach Rob. It is also game day for the Lady Tar Heels in the Sweet 16 against who? The Dukies. Let's go out and win the season rubber match. Yes, Coach's face just said it all. That's subtle, like on his face, Coach. That spoke a million languages to me. But we got to start here with more transfer portal business. As we get into who we're going to be talking about, I do want to mention that as we record on Thursday afternoon, Silas Demery from UGA just hopped into the transfer portal. He's a Raleigh native. He grew up a Carolina fan, so we're going to have to talk about him soon, but that won't be today. Today's show, we're starting by talking about Nick Dorn from Elon, who is in the transfer portal. Reports are, I like to say each time we have these portal conversations, is this somebody that Carolina is in contact with, just that I'm hopeful that they would get in contact with, or what? This is somebody that there are reports that Carolina has had conversations back and forth with. Dorn is a rising junior. He is a 6'7" guard, 200 pounds. The UNC connection, Coach, is that his father, Torin Sr., played football at Carolina before going off to the NFL. His brother, Myles, also played football at Carolina, but his brother, Torin Jr., he went somewhere else in Raleigh. Unfortunate. He missed the boat there, Coach. But that's where I want to start. Before we say more about Nick and what he's done in his production, when you look at a family legacy thing like this, Coach, how much of a factor is that actually, because obviously the father and one of the brothers was at Carolina, but Torin Jr. somehow went off to NC State. So how thick does that blue run versus the red?
I love the whole family legacy. It wasn't planned this way. It wasn't long-term thought about, but I ended up attending the same college as my parents. And it just worked out with the recruiting process. I visited 5 schools, and it was just, I felt like that was the place I needed to be. And then that was kind of the cherry on the top, to know that I was in the same dorm that my dad, was in, 30 years earlier. But, I love that. I love that connection. And from Nick's perspective, I think the opportunity to come and attend the same school his parents went to and play, I just think that's a really special thing. So I like him. I love to see this connection. But having that family legacy, I think, is something that lasts forever. And I think it'd be very, very important if it was me making that decision.
And I think that's the type of thing that Hubert Davis cares a lot about too, just from everything we hear him say and talk about. Like, I think that would certainly matter to him. As a sophomore this year at Elon, Nick averaged 15.2 points a game, 3.8 boards, shot 35% from 3 on 8.4 attempts per game. Coach, that is crazy high volume. The totals of that, I looked at the averages but forgot to get the actual total. He was 74 of 211, so a lot of attempts there on that. And then also shot 80% at the free throw line, 4.5 attempts per game. As a reminder, Elon played at Carolina to start the season. He scored 17 in that game on 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 10 from beyond the arc, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, had 5 boards, 1 assist, and 0 turnovers in 30 minutes. Coach, here's my question to you as we talk about, does he have, as you see tape of him and highlights, and even remember back to that game against Carolina, does he have UNC level capability, in your opinion?
He looked great against Carolina. I remember watching that game, watching those highlights, and he obviously shoots the ball very well in the Smith Center, which is a great thing to know. That being said, there's still a lot of questions in my mind. Can it be something that is consistent over a 35 game season? Looking at his stats, he wasn't specific. I mean, terribly consistent throughout his own season with his own group. So it does scare me a little bit. This is where you really have to rely on your assistant coaches. They need to watch every possession of every game, divide them all up, and then sit down with them afterwards and say, hey, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Give me your impressions. Can he, be a factor? Obviously, I love the size. The 6'7" to me is the first thing that jumped out. You're sitting there going, wow, this is exactly what we want to do. And maybe it's a situation you put him at the 2, along with Drake. And that's a big lineup. And, that's what I think you don't want a knee-jerk reaction, but we've got to get bigger. You got to get more athletic. We got to get longer. And he definitely fits that bill.
Yeah, Bill, that's your name, by the way. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. This is something Coach Davis has talked about. Like, we've got to get bigger. You look down the road, Duke is the tallest team in the entire nation, and it has served them well. They're disruptive defensively. And so I'm right with you. That's the first thing that jumps off the page to me is he is a big guard. And that would be great. So that size is the thing. But yeah, Coach, I mean, you said it. Every possession has to be analyzed, and that's the issue, because I often talk about transfer portal recruiting as a microwave versus the crock pot of high school recruiting. And I think all the more so right now because of the misevaluation of Cade Tyson for this year, which, who knows? We don't know behind the scenes what that process was like or what happened, because everything on film to me looked right with Cade Tyson. And there was just something there that did not translate, but you look back, and that's a real thing. And so I think all the more any of these mid-major up transfers is going to have to be under the microscope and just by nature of that. And so, Coach, I think some people might hear you say that like literally every possession and be like, is that doable? Is that too much? And it's like, I think that's what you got to do to be successful in this thing, right?
No, absolutely. You've got a staff and you've got grad assistants and you've got all kinds of people that are in the program right now. If I'm Coach Davis, Creighton Lebo, come see me. Let's sit down. All right, here are the 3 games of this guy, and here's 3 games of this guy. And I want you to, for the next week, I want 8 hours of watching film. And that's essentially what we're down to now. You've got to get to the point where you have that kind of depth in your staff. You have that kind of depth and knowledge, guys who have played at that level or at least have seen that level. Creighton's seen basketball his whole life, obviously, at different levels. So I think he's got some eyes, but you rely on your Brad Fredericks and your Sean Mays to be able to watch that film, and you got to be able to see how that's going to translate into what you're doing the next year. So I didn't get to watch a whole game. I got to watch a lot of highlights, got to watch some clips, got to go through some stuff, try to remember what he looked like against Carolina. And I do have some questions, and you don't want to get in a situation where you're settling. So let's be more patient and let's see how this thing plays out.
Yeah. And we've also heard that Jim Tanner wants to fill out his staff to be able to have people, that are helping with all those things as well. So, Coach, one of the dynamics, though, of the transfer portal that I think is easy for a lot of us to forget is the fact that you don't just need starters. You need depth on your team. And so I've had people reaching out to me like about Nick Dorn, for example, or there was somebody else that is escaping my brain right now. I wonder if I can remember who it is in real time. The kid from West Virginia, that the 6'6" kid. And some people are like, I just don't know. Like, is this who we're going after? I don't know if this is the high enough tier. Well, we need to remember, you don't just have to fill out your starting lineup. You need depth off the bench. And so I don't want to rush to assume that Carolina is recruiting Nick Dorn as a potential starter. They might see it and think, yes, you could be our starting 2, maybe our starting 3 if Drake Powell decides to leave. But Coach, we don't know those conversations. It might be very specifically, hey, look, Nick, we would love for you to come here, but you need to know it is very unlikely, just like Coach Smith told Coach Hubert Davis when he was being recruited, that you're not going to be a starter at the University of North Carolina. but we would love to have you coming off our bench and providing that depth. So, Coach, as you look, I know you said you haven't sat down and watched a full game of Nick Dorn, but from what you've seen, does he strike you of more of a Power 5 starter level or more of a Power 5 bench level?
Yeah, the concept of roster construction, it's totally different when you think about that. I'm not just trying to set a starting five, but you're trying to develop a whole program. How does he fit in? Does he fit in on the court? Does he fit in off the court? Does he fit in with our philosophies? Those are the type of things. Actually had a kid yesterday who visited. We sat down for a meal with his family, and he prayed. He led the prayer, and I'm thinking, hey, I really like this kid. He's going to fit into our program. He's just a nice kid, great family, but just even something as simple as just praying for a meal, which most of us, at least pray for a meal. But I'm sitting there going, this is a type of kid who's going to fit in off the court as well as going to fit in on the court. So I think that's part of it too. They're not just trying. Hubert doesn't just want to go out there and find the very best player, and if he's hard to work with, he wants to find the very best player who can also be fun to coach, to be coachable, to be fun having him in the office or on the beach trip or on the vans or the bus or the plane or wherever you're going to be. I think he's looking for the whole package. So they're looking for the very, very best players, but they also want to find the guys that fit in the system, fit on and off the court.
That's a good word, Coach. So we will continue to monitor this with Nick Dorn. By the way, I should mention Elon in his 2 years played 4 different high major opponents. Obviously, we already talked about Carolina. They played at Notre Dame. He dropped 24 in that game, 8 of 10 shooting, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc, 6 boards, 2 assists. He scored 13 at Wake, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, and 6 at South Carolina in his freshman year, 2 of 6 from the field. So pretty good results there in those high major games. But again, you don't want to just look at that small sample size, but it is a helpful indicator of what he's done against some of the best competition that the NCAA Division I has to offer. All right, Coach, I did tease this earlier. I want to talk to you about exit interview week. It is a fun week, and fun is an interesting word to use there, but filled with lots of twists and turns and adventures. Coach is going to just fill us in on some of what those weeks are like, because we obviously know Carolina is going through that this week, and we'll be grateful for Coach's wisdom and insight with that. We'll get to that conversation in just a second. Right after I tell you about Nissan, we're all about the stats here at Locked On because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever it is you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling right on up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. So take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more about it at nissanusa.com. One of the things that happens after every college basketball season is that the coach meets with each of the players, some that are outgoing like RJ Davis and Jalen Withers, who are out of eligibility, with some wrap-up stuff, some with players to just discuss, hey, here's what you need to do so that you are a better basketball player and a better person next season. Some of them are conversations about, are you going to the NBA? You staying here? Some of them are conversations in this day and age about, are you going into the transfer portal or are you staying here? Obviously, North Carolina and Milligan University are different places at different levels of basketball. So there are some different conversation specifics that go on, but a lot of the ideas behind it are the same. So, Coach, a couple different types of conversations I want to ask you about. And then there's probably things that I'm not even going to think to ask you about that you would just have awareness of that I'd love for you to share with us. But the first type of conversation I want to ask about is the RJ Davis, Jalen Withers, hey, you're out of eligibility, so you're definitely gone conversation. What are those like?
They're real casual. And it's, hey, thanks, dap them up, give them a hug, sit on the couch, say thanks for the memories. We're not going to get emotional today. We'll wait for graduation to do that. Those type of jokes. Hey, we got one of our guys who's engaged. Hey, when am I going to get my invitation to a wedding? I'd like to RSVP as soon as I can. Little things like that. How quickly they can be gone after graduation, because we still want to spend some time with them and their families. But at the same time, we want to get some feedback. So we do ask them, what do you like? What do you not like? What did we do well while you were here?
I like that. Yeah.
The door's shut. you can say whatever you want. You can say that I was the worst coach you've ever had, and I hated everything. And usually the conversations come down that we wish, we got more gear, wish we, maybe ate a little bit better. Maybe we ran more secondaries than sets, or, we want to get to specifics. Tell us what your favorite set was. What defense did you not like? Why did we, what could we have done better to become more successful on the court or off the court? So we've been able to change some things recently, especially in the areas of travel. The guys really don't have a whole lot to complain about. We probably eat more pizza after games than they want to, but sometimes it just makes sense. But we do appreciate the feedback that they give us, and write it down and make sure we take notes of everything, and try to fix things for the future.
I love that. Now, some of those outgoing conversations, um, not necessarily at Milligan's level, probably, but with the Jalen Withers, with an RJ Davis are, hey, you probably want to keep playing basketball. I don't know that you guys are going to make the NBA, but there are opportunities overseas, maybe at the G League level, whatever that may be. How do you handle those kind of conversations well and honor them? Because it's somebody that's like, hey, you're not there for the highest levels of the sport, but man, there are opportunities for you to make a living at this.
Yeah, we've got one right now, Sam Gold, one of our New Zealand kids. He's going to go back and play with the Wellington Saints, which is a kind of semi-pro team there in New Zealand. But he does have aspirations to be able to play some. So I do have a couple buddies who are small time. They're agents, but they deal with small colleges. And he's in the gym every day. He's still in the weight room all the time. You can tell he's still motivated and very much wants to play. Sam's brother Ben plays at Marquette.
Yes, I didn't realize they were brothers.
Yeah, if you look at them, you can tell they're both redheads.
Why have I never made that connection before? That's crazy.
So he has the connections and would love to continue to play. So do get some messages from some organizations that are doing scout camps and things like that, where they can go and pay money, but to get in front of scouts and coaches and people from all over the world that will come into these things. Usually they're in Vegas or LA or something like that, and have 2 or 3 day camps where they can just play in front of coaches and scouts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
He's out of the 4 guys we have graduating, he's the only one that really has aspirations to play. But we've got 2 or 3 guys, Milligan alums, that are playing overseas. Aaron Laverity's over in France playing his 5th or 6th year. I forget how many, but playing at the second level over there, making decent money and playing really well. But all those guys also have their degrees, so when the ball stops bouncing, they got something to fall back on.
Yeah, that's good. Coach, the next kind of conversation I want to ask you about is the Ian Jackson, Drake Powell type conversation where, you are somebody with NBA aspirations and capability. You're probably not a lottery pick coming off of this first year, but there is draft hope. And whether that's late first round, early second, we're not sure at this point, but hey, we're going to gather intel and you should probably enter your name, it like that whole thing, as well as, hey, it's the NIL era. You could come back. Here's kind of the money, like that whole conversation.
Yeah, I think Carolina has an advantage there over some schools where they have so many connections at the pro level, at the NBA level, where they have a very clear view. By the time the NBA draft comes around, you have a pretty good idea where these guys are going to go. But that's with the Mitch Kupchak and of course Roy Williams and the connections that they have at the NBA level.
Jim Tanner, funny enough, who's now on campus.
But you're going to get a pretty good idea. So I think you can give those guys really good advice ahead of time and then give them their opportunities. Harrison Ingram was a great, example of a guy who got a chance to at least see what it was all about, decided to come back, made I think a wise decision, and then was able, obviously, to be in a great situation. I think he had a triple-double the other day at the G League.
He did.
Well, so I think it's about time because I have tickets, Final Four on Friday night, to go see the Cavs and Spurs. I would love to see Harrison in uniform that night. If somebody can make that happen, it would be wonderful.
Yes, let's get him to San Antonio for that. Oh, that's a bummer that Wemby's hurt. That would be super fun to.
So what's not a bummer about that?
What?
Is the tickets were a whole lot cheaper.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I love that, Coach. Yeah, really curious to see what both of those guys, Ian and Drake, ultimately decide to do for next year. That's obviously a big part of the roster construction this offseason. Coach, and then there's guys that, might not necessarily be NBA candidates, but could stay, could come back. Like I'm thinking like the Seth Trimbles of the world, for example, and Jalen Washington and Elliot, who are already in the transfer portal. What are those like?
Yeah, the conversations that have changed in the 32 years I've had as a head coach is our first question now is, do you want to stay? Do you want to come back? Where we never asked that question in the past because we just kind of assumed that once you make your college choice that you're going to stay. A couple years ago, we went through a whole rant about this kid and what we needed to do to improve to get playing time, and we got all the way through it. And he said, "I want to leave." And I'm like, "You could have said that 10 minutes ago before
Yeah.
everything." And it is. Do you want to stay? Do we still want you here? And those are the conversations that can be very difficult. And you just have to be honest and say, hey, okay, yeah, we really, really want you here. There's some things that need to change. Or, hey, I don't know how we're going to do it without you, but we're going to try. And it's just time to move on. And sometimes it's just better. And I feel like that for Elliot right now. I think, he's a great player. I think he's going to have an awesome career. But it just seems like it's just better probably for both parties that he just seek somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've compared it this week to Caleb Love a little bit, where it was a better for both parties situation. I'm so grateful for what Caleb's been able to do at Arizona, and glad he's with the other coach, Rob, there in the desert.
Just need one more from Caleb. Just one more real.
That's right.
So.
Oh man, that's good. Excuse me. So yeah, that is interesting. And I guess my last question on this, Coach, on the exit interviews and specific to those conversations, and then we'll truck along. As it's become a little bit more transactional in that way now of, at the D1 level, the money side of it, and then as well as the do you want to stay, do you want to go? There's the transactional nature, but also as a coach, it is an extremely relational position that you are in. Or I guess not every coach is like that, but I know you are. I know Coach Hubert Davis is. How do you balance the love and care and concern that you have for this young man and his family with the new transactional nature of this thing where it's like, buddy, I love you. I'm grateful for everything you've done for this team and university. Either we don't have the money you're commanding, or what you've done is not good enough. So you're either going to have to take reduced money or reduced role or go find somewhere. Like, that sounds tough.
Yeah. I've been called a dinosaur recently, as recent as this week, actually. At my level, I don't have to win to keep my job. I want to win. We want to win at the highest level. We won a conference tournament championship this year. It was great. But to me, it's got to be about people first. And it is a business. And that's the tough part of it, is because you really do. You care about these guys. You love them. You wish everybody got a full ride. Our guys pay. It's just the reality of it. You wish everybody could play 40 minutes. You wish we won every game. It's the every concept. But the reality is that's not life. That's not the way it's going to be. And there are times where it just doesn't fit. And recruiting's the same way. This is what we have. We have this situation. This is the scholarship money we have. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, then maybe you have to find somewhere else. That's the way that Division I's gotten now. They're going to say, okay, here's the money we have, but I want a little bit more. Well, this is what we have. Does it fit? Does it not fit? So you're seeking not just all the basketball or the academic, or forget that. We don't talk about academics on this show because it doesn't really matter anymore. But we do. But you got to find where it fits. And I think kids are expecting so much more money now as the numbers are thrown around, and it's just gotten out of control, that more and more people are asking for more and more money, and the fits are not going to be there. And to see the numbers that are in the portal now, I think there were 300 names in the first hour, and you're sitting there going, there's no way there's going to be enough spots for all those kids. So programs like mine, if we can sit and be patient and wait enough, I think maybe by July there could be opportunities for guys who are maybe Division I, Division II players that are still looking, and that's hopefully open up opportunities for us.
Yeah, man, just Coach and I were talking about this before we got rolling, folks, but it's hard for me to blame the players or the parents or the agents for the crazy amounts of money that are going around. It to me is solely laid at the feet of the NCAA for failing to put structure around this when it first came into practice. And they have continued to fail to do so. And consequently, people give a whatever and it'll take a mile, whatever that phrase is. Give a mouse of cookies, give an inch, will take a mile. Like, it's just human nature. And until we get better structure and restriction, this will continue to be the case. All right, guys. Not only do we need Caleb Love to knock off the Dukies, we need Courtney Banghart's women's basketball team to do so. So we'll get to that game and several other things for the weekend whip around coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about 5 Hour Energy, daylight savings has snuck up on us again, folks. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has got your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through the day. So whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around to golf after work, or whatever it is, just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever it is that you need it. I've been staying up so late covering the NCAA tournament, and I'll tell you what, 5 Hour Energy is just the jolt I need to keep me going through the next day. So whether I'm at a game or traveling or whatever it is, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Coach, the men's team might unfortunately be finished with the season, but the ladies are rolling on, having made it to the Sweet 16 for the second time in the Courtney Banghart era, looking to advance to the Elite Eight for the first time in the Courtney Banghart era. The crazy thing is, they're going to have to get past their arch rival, the Duke Blue Devils, to get there and do so. Coach, these teams split their first 2 games of the season. Interestingly, each team winning on the road in the regular season. Carolina at Duke in overtime back on January 9th, and then Duke beating Carolina in Carmichael on February 27th. Now, to be fair, Carolina neither had Renaya Kelly or Alyssa Ustby in that game, and that is a big thing. Coach, Duke is the favorite in this team by 5.5 per our good friends at FanDuel. You think this team can make the Elite Eight? What are we seeing here?
Absolutely. I mean, it's tournament time. Anything can happen. And I love to see our ladies advance. One of the cool things about Montrose Camp is that we always get a chance to hang out with the women's team as much as we hang out with the men's team. So I get to know those girls. They're a lot of fun. They're great to be around, and would love to see them advance further than the Elite Eight.
Yeah, you know what? That would be phenomenal. And so going to be really interesting. I mean, it feels like these two teams are very evenly matched. Both play great defense. And, I mean, gosh, the game that went to overtime was a 53-46 game, Coach, in overtime. And then the other one on senior night was 68-53. So, I mean, legit, this could be first team to 50 or 60 wins. And that's what we'll be watching for. Coach, any specifics on this game or any particular players you're watching for, or just kind of looking for one of those great NCAA tournament games?
Yeah, this is one of those things when two teams know each other as well as these two teams know and how they're prepared for each other. That's why the games, I mean, they're obviously great defensive teams too. They know what each other are doing. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they're all trying to make sure that they defend that way. And I expect another real close, hard fought, who can make one more play. If you can just make that one more play, and I think that, that will determine the game.
Man, gonna be a lot of fun. Good luck to the ladies tonight. Hopefully moving on to that Elite Eight should be a lot of fun there. And just a little bit of other action around Carolina athletics. Women's lacrosse played yesterday, Thursday, number 2 in the nation against number 3 in the nation, Northwestern, up in Evanston. We're recording before that game took place, so we don't know the outcome, but I'm just going to trust that team rolled on as they often do, the Fightin' Jenny Levy's. And then elsewhere in things this weekend with track, they're at the Texas Relays in Austin, but also the Raleigh Relays there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Women's tennis is at SMU today. They're hosting SMU today at 2 p.m. Women's basketball obviously playing tonight. Softball is up in Syracuse. Men's tennis is hosting Miami. Baseball is also hosting Miami. And so maybe the Canes just, a little joint flight to come up. Just all you Hurricanes ride together and we'll make that happen. So good luck. Obviously, lots of other stuff going on Saturday and Sunday too, but we're going a little bit long here, so we need to get out of here. Coach, it's a crazy time. Transfer portal. We got on top of it all. We'll see if there's any other defections out or any, news of portal guys coming in, and we'll get back all to that. Of the guys that haven't announced yet, Coach, any that you think are like, hey man, I really think he might stay, he might go?
I think Cade Tyson will go. I think when it comes down to it, And I think it's just about playing time. I think they love him as a person. Obviously, he had a disappointing year, but I think when it comes right down to it, I think Cade's going to say, hey, I want an opportunity to play 30 minutes a game. If I'm not going to get it here, he'll get it somewhere at the Division I level. So I think I would not be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, agreed. I would just, it's that kind of thing. It's like, I want you to be able to play, and it's not going to happen here. Unfortunate. He killed it at Belmont. Go back to that kind of level and let's make it. I'm glad he shot his shot. I just really thought it was going to work, and it didn't, Coach. It's a bummer. Guys, that's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for joining Coach and I. Always fun to have these great conversations. So grateful for his insight. If you've not checked out his great book, Carolina Basketball School, you need to go do that right now. You can find it on Amazon, buy it there. If you want Coach's autograph, you can reach out to him directly. He'd be happy to sign a copy for you and send it right to you. You can do that and find his email address on the Milliken website and ship it to him, and we'll get it to you there. Folks, if you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in there. That link is in the show notes. Also, the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program. Lots of people hopping in on that in the transfer portal season. You could be the next one to just stay up to date on all that. Every rumor I hear, every name and stuff, that's going in there, and that's who I'm sharing all that with. That link is also in the show notes. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Monday, unless there's breaking news of personnel stuff between now and then. You know I'll be right back here with you with a short or a little bit of a live. All right, we'll talk to you next week, but until then, peace.